Hey everyone, this is Pick for Life, and today I'm doing a video review for one figure that has been my holy grail for a long time. Well, as long as I've been collecting, which has only been about a year, but is one of my favorite molds and of one of my favorite figures, and I think one of everybody's favorite figures, Masterpiece Grimlock. But this is the MP-8X version, which is the King Grimlock version. As you can see, this figure is very different in the packaging department from the traditional MP-8X or even any of the US releases, whether it be the first one with the packaging in Dino mode or the recent release one with the new Hasbro deco of the red and white box. This one has a fantastic comic book box that has a comic book cover, looks like an old school Marvel comic cover in and of itself, and features a scene from the comics showing Grimlock with his crown and saying, "Me Grimlock, humans are pest." So this was actually the first appearance of the crown accessory, if I'm not mistaken. So let's go ahead and get started. The packaging itself, which is where we always start, is amazing. It looks very retro. It has the traditional like Marvel area here that talks about the comic. It doesn't have any issue numbering, but it still looks very good. It's meet the new masterpiece. His name is Grimlock. The old Transformers logo. In the bottom left here, it says 25 years. So this figure actually came out 5 years ago. So this is the first run. This is not the reissue, which has yet to come out, but will be coming out in the next month or so. Taking a look at the side, it just shows a little bit of the comic in the background, and goes ahead and has the same look of the Takara boxes, just with a different background. On the back, you see both the robot mode at the top and the alt mode at the bottom. Although, honestly, I've always questioned whether for Dinobots, whether their alt mode really is their Dino mode, because they spend so much time there. I almost always call that their regular mode, and that the robot is their alt mode. But it also goes through here. Let's zoom in and talks about some of the specs. Allegiance, Cybertron, subgroup Dinobot, function Dinobot commander, and then goes into some quotes like, "Among the winners there is no room for the weak," and then a profile, which I'm not going to go read all of it, but here I'll zoom in for a little bit and let you guys pause if you want. There's a profile, abilities, and weaknesses. I will read the weaknesses real quick. Other than arrogance and lack of speed, Grimlock has no significant weaknesses. And I imagine the same information is down here translated into Japanese. So that's pretty nice that there's English, even though this was a Japanese release. Alright, let's see, zooming back out. Going to the other side, and again, more of the same. The top, more of the same. And the bottom, a little bit different. It has the information that the Takara boxes typically have. I don't know what any of that means, but regardless, the packaging itself is just a really nice collector piece, nice display piece. And so, as far as packaging reviews go, this is probably one of the best packaging that Hasbro or Takara Tomy has done, because it is so unique. It is a throwback. I don't think any other masterpiece figure has gotten a very unique one-off package like this, or even deco like this for the most part. So let's go ahead and unbox this guy. And I will say that I had mentioned wanting to do a review on this during my Dino comparison, but that my version was a mint and sealed box, and I didn't want to open it. And that's still true. I still have a mint and seal box version of this, but I did manage to recently get another one at a really good price. Well, I considered it a good price recently, and so I just had to pick them up just so I could not open my old other one and still be able to have one to play around with and review for you guys. So this is what he looks like. Comes in the clamshell, which you probably didn't notice because I didn't do a box comparison with the other Takara boxes, is that the original packaging is much smaller, and it is because it comes with less accessories than the original release. It only comes with the double barrel blaster and the sword and the crown. There's no serving tray or glasses or apron or mind transfer helmet, so much less going on. But if you want to see a box comparison, go ahead and look at my previous video comparing the different versions of Grimlock. I do a box comparison there, so I'm not going to do it again here. What else is included is this instruction booklet, which again looks just like the comic, and we'll open him up. It's black and white. You have the stat card, which is a cheaper plastic-like card than some of the nicer ones that we see, especially with third parties. And there's stats here, which I can't translate for you because I don't know it. Sorry, it's not focusing very well. Well, you get the picture. So the pictures are just a repeat of what was on the packaging. Some kind of contest maybe card. I don't know. I'm sure since this is from 5 years ago that contest is surely over. And then the instruction booklet. Again, it will just go through the transformation, which we're going to go through very quickly this time because this mold is not new. It's actually quite old, and there's no real differences. So let's go ahead and open up the clamshell. Okay. And get Grimlock out. So we'll put him off to the side for now. Get his blaster out. Get his crown out. And get his sword out. Move the clamshell to the side. Alright, let's get adjusted a bit. And zoom in so you guys can see a bit more detail. So taking a look at him, he looks great. I love this. I may be biased because I love Grimlock. He's always been one of my favorites. I love T-Rex. I always thought that he was just such a cool character, and his actually not balance of skills. That was very cool with the Dinobots just being hulking bruisers that were not very smart or not very fast in general. So I'm going to adjust his wings up because that's the way he's supposed to look. And looking at him, you'll see immediate differences between this guy and the others. So let me just take a quick break and I'll bring in the original. So I'm bringing in just a regular Masterpiece Grimlock. This is my shelf display, which is my favorite, well, at least favorite of the regular Masterpiece Grimlocks, which is the Hasbro 2008 release. So the original Toys R Us release. And again, you can see the stark differences between these guys in terms of color and just sheer overall look. If you look at the blacks, they are now this slate blue, which you're probably going to either love or not love. I really like it. I think it's different. I also like slate blue in general, so I really like it. And then of course, what this figure is known for is this silver paint job, which looks amazing. It just looks so vibrant and very metallic, which you would picture robots of this type looking like. And then the other difference is with the chrome. The chrome here is this richer gold than this kind of what I'd like to call this kind of like white gold looking. It's kind of a silvery, but it's still gold, but this one's much more yellow and richness to it. Some obvious paint app differences. These lines here, which are only unique to the original Hasbro Toys R Us release. None of the other mold versions of this mold have that at all. Only this one, as well as these paint apps here, the black paint apps, again unique to this mold, and once again these paint apps on the thighs, unique to this mold. None of the others have this. So in comparing the number of paint apps, this one will always win out of any of this mold, but this guy's on par, or I guess ahead, since the rest of the silver is all painted on as well. One thing that I will note that I find a little bit odd is that this is the only version of this mold where the knees are painted. Typically they're just the same color as the thighs because it's the same molded piece from the same molded plastic. I don't know why they did that. That's probably the only thing I really don't like about this. And the other reason is that the knees, the knee actual joint isn't colored. You can see in there that it's still blue. So if they were going to do it, they should have done the inside knee as well. I'm not sure why they did that. That's the only thing that I can think of that I don't like about the paint apps here. So let's take a look very quick from the side and the back. One thing you will notice on the back that you may not immediately notice is that the silver on the arms is different. As with this figure in general, there's more blue in it. So even the arms here have a blue tint to it. The chrome on the legs, which is a bit harder to see here, but you'll be able to see a little bit better in when I transform them into alt mode. That is different as well. Again, I'll highlight that when we transform into alt mode. Okay, but everything else is the same, so I'm not going to harp on the articulation or anything like that. Just overall, I think this figure looks a lot better. The only other difference that I'm seeing is that this whole piece was kind of vacuum metallicized, so the clear piece underneath you still see the gold, while in here I believe they painted it the silver paint again. So when you look at it, there is a contrast compared to this one. So you still have that same gold in the middle, while this one, it's clearly different. It's more silver. So that's a bit different. All the same gimmicks are there with the gun and the light up feature. I'm going to go compare accessories right now, so let me go grab the other original accessories. Alright, so looking at the blaster, this blaster is again the same kind of slate blue compared to the original black. but otherwise no difference. This one does have paint apps here, this one doesn't. Not a huge deal for me. And then the crown is the same vibrant gold there, while this one is the same kind of like white gold found in the original Takara, the original Hasbro releases and every subsequent release, except for the stone crown on the most recent Takara reissue. And lastly, the difference is with the last accessory, the sword. So MP-8X has this nicely colored red hue sword. None of the others of this mold they all have this clear kind of white one. MP-8X is the only one that has this red one. And I'll show you what that looks like in comparison to the original. Put these guys side by side. You may be able to see that a little bit, while the red one shows up way clearer and it looks more accurate to the red sword that we're familiar with when we think of Grimlock and the Dinobots. So I love that. A lot of people like that sword so much that they end up buying that by itself. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it definitely looks much better both by itself and lit up than the other versions of this sword. And that's really it for the accessories, guys. Let's just go ahead and get into Dino mode real quick. So now it's time for Dino comparisons. And I think this is where really you get to see how beautiful MP-8X is compared to the regular versions of Masterpiece Grimlock. The silver paint here is just really, really stunning. So if you can't tell, the one on the left is MP-8X. And again, just looking at him from all angles, this looks like the color he should have been, or that you kind of imagined him being. At first, I didn't really think that I would care that much between the difference between this gray, which I think originally looked really good, and this metallic silver paint. But once you see it, you can't, or at least you don't want to go back to just the plain gray. It just looks amazing from all angles. If you come around the back here, you'll see again some subtle differences in some of the paint apps here. And these colors may actually be the same, but against the metallic silver, they just look very different. The chrome on the tails. Let's see if I'll zoom in real quick so you can get a better look at that. So the chrome on the tails is much different. The MP-8X is that bluish hue, and even the tip of the tail is not even the same gray. It has, again, that bluish hue to it. Zooming back out. Coming around the front. As with all the other Takara releases, this doesn't have the paint apps on the legs, which are exclusive to the original Toys R Us Hasbro release. But all the other paint apps are the same here. There is that extra red on the front piece here that's not seen there. But these red apps are essentially the same. Looking at the clear pieces, there is a difference, and it might not actually be a difference in the plastic, although I think it is, but it probably has a lot to do with, again, the more rich gold color of the gold here as compared to the more subtle, almost silvery gold there. And again, the arms themselves, this plastic has that nice bluish hue, while this is standard silver. The comparison here with the Hasbro one is a little bit different. As I pointed out in my other Grimlock comparison review, the Japanese releases always had the pointier claws and teeth than the US releases. But those are really the only differences. Like I said, it doesn't seem like a lot in terms of differences, and it's not, but he just looks way more stunning in this color. I really like this one, and I'm so glad I picked them up. I am excited for Fan Toys releasing their comic versions that will match this. I'm hoping that's still the case. We haven't heard anything in quite a while about that, but they said they were going to make their line of comics with this metallic silver to match MP-8X, and that is just super exciting to me because I love this guy. I absolutely love him. The other benefit of the silver paint is that even if there were, swirls in the plastic, that's all covered up by the paint, and the paint apps are excellent in general. I don't see very many defects in mine, or any at all, really. And we're back. And like I said, guys, this for me is really the definitive version of this mold. I think the colors really do make a difference. Whether you like the slate blue as opposed to the black in alt mode, in robot mode, is going to be a personal opinion. I really like it, but some people may not. But in general, I think this silver paint and this really rich gold is amazing for this figure. This is the piece that I'll likely keep on display forever, just because I think he looks that good. So when their reissue comes out in the next month or so, I would recommend picking him up. If you don't have any of this mold, it's definitely worth getting this mold over the others. If you already have a version of this mold, it's up to you. I'm very happy with this mold, so I think you will be as well if you're a Grimlock fan. Even if you're not a comic book fan, like I said, I'm not a comic book fan. I never really read the Marvel comics much. I have some of them, but I never really kept up with them. But this version with the paint apps, the slate blue, it just looks really stunning. So my recommendation, if you can get the reissue, I know it's selling for about $260 at most retailers, which is a lot more than the US release, which was $60 or $80 depending on when you got it. It's a lot more than that, but I think it is also a very unique reissue or remold of this, and I would hesitate to not recommend it to anyone who's a Grimlock fan. Alright guys, well, that's it for this review. I'll be back next time. Until then, have a good one.